Carol is a graduate of Claflin University with a bachelor degree in social science and later a graduate certificate in social work from Winthrop University. Carol later earned a master's degree in human relations and conflict resolution from Columbia College. Carol worked at the Department of Social Services, DSS, for 29 and a half years before retiring in 2003. During her time at DSS, she worked in several areas: foster care, child protective services, and the child pregnancy prevention programs, which include the Teen Champion Program and the County Grants Fund for Adolescents Pregnancy Prevention Initiative, were primary pregnancy prevention programs whose goal was to delay initial pregnancies of the Young Parents Program, focused on pregnant and parenting teens to prevent subsequent pregnancies. After retirement, Carol joined the South Carolina campaign to prevent teen pregnancy as a senior project coordinator for Faith Initiative. 18 years later, she is now the outreach and special project coordinator for Fact Forward, formerly the South Carolina Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy. Other interests of Carol include work at the church, Francis Brown United Methodist Church. Community affiliations include life member of NAACP Columbia Branch, Board of Visitors for Claflin University, past president, local branch NAACP, past assistant treasurer for state conference NAACP, mentor for Richmond County School District, 1 of 5 years, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, member of United Methodist Church District Connectional Ministry, South Carolina Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, Faith Leaders Advisory Board, South Carolina DSS Independent Living Advisory Committee, and Executive Director of Francis Brown United Methodist Church Freedom School. I now present to you our workshop leader for this afternoon, Carol Singletary.
Are you ready for me to?
Yes. Just the
I'm working on it.
Front page. Yeah, okay. Good afternoon. I am appreciative to the women of South Carolina Conference United Methodist Women for the invitation to participate in the 2022 South Carolina Annual Legislative Advocacy Day program. It is a privilege to present to women who are committed to addressing risky topics that are necessary to have a healthy community. Special thanks to Linda Eichenbaum and Rebecca Eliezer for the invitation to present. Also, special thanks to Ms. Kathy Ford, the president of the South Carolina United Methodist Women. This afternoon, I'm going to provide you with information that will help you better understand the status of teen birth in South Carolina. Also, I will provide you tips of suggestion on how to have honest and comfortable conversation with young people. To have conversations with your children or other young people about sexuality, it is important that you understand your history and experience it as it relates to sex and sexuality. It is also important that we allow ourselves to have some laughter, because laughter is good for the soul and also good for your health. By the end of the presentation, you should be able to do the following. Would you advance the slide, please. Understand South Carolina teen birth data. Understand the ways you would want your relationship with your child to be different if it was bad, or the same if the relationship was good as your childhood relationship was with your parents. Understand how parenting styles have been influenced by parents modeling, and identify and understand what sexual health and parent-child communication looks like. Next slide, please. Just wanted to provide you some information about where we are as it relates to teen birth rates in South Carolina. And our latest data is 2019. We're working on the 2020 data now, but we haven't completed working on that. But in 2019, we had 3,425 teen births, and the rate was 21.6%, and that's teen birth per 1,000 girls. Since 2018, there has been a minus 2%. That's a reduction in actual teen birth. I want you to look at where the births are. Ages 15 to 17, total teen birth was 791 in 2019. Between 18 and 19, the total teen birth was 2,636. That's 26% of the teen birth. I think it's important that we understand, because so often we think that when young people become 18 and 19, that we don't need to talk to them. But I think that these statistics will bear out that that's not what it should be. And the other part of that is 15% of the birth to persons who had second birth, and that's usually the 18 to 19 years old, they had at least one child earlier. So not only are they having more children, but they're having repeat birth. And that's, all of this has to do with not only the health of the child and the mother, but also the health of our community and our country. Young teen mothers are more likely than other mothers to end up in poverty, or they're living in poverty. And also, teens who have not completed high school, or just high school, are more likely than teens who have completed high school to end up in poverty. So it's important to understand the data so you'll understand how we need to work to lower the birth rates. When I started working with teen birth at the South Carolina Campaign to Prevent Teen Pregnancy, which is Fact Forward now, the teen birth in South Carolina was over 11,000, close to 12,000. So you see, we have made a difference, and it's not us, it's not the agency. I always tell people, it's you, the people in the community, because we don't provide direct services. We provide services to the person that provide direct services. So because of you, there has been a drastic reduction in the teen birth. I believe one of the ways we can be open and honest with our children is to talk frankly about our childhood as it relates to parent-child communication and uncomfortable topics. With that said, I would like to take a few minutes. I would like you to take a few minutes to complete the self-assessment. Afterwards, we will briefly discuss the findings. Would you download the poll? Right.
Is that it?
That's it. do y'all have it in a poll form?
Let me see.
I think that Kim said she did a poll where they could actually just respond via the
Are you
chat.
ready to be a role model? Is that it?
Pardon me?
Okay.
This is
Yes.
the set. You got it?
Launch it?
Yes, launch it, please. And take about 5 minutes to answer these questions, and we will talk about them once you're completed.
Okay.
You can begin now.
I launched it. Can everybody see it?
It should be in the chat.
Yes,
I see it.
Okay. Because this is a slideshow, I am unable to see my chat right now. So Kathy, if you will text me any questions, that would be great. Everybody's voting.
Okay, good.
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
This is Kathy, and I cannot see. I'm driving. I'm in my car, and I cannot see the questions.
Okay, that could be a problem. Sometimes they don't show up on your car, on your iPhone.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm on my iPhone, so I'll just wait and listen.
Okay.
Yes, we want you to drive safely, and we will share the verbiage. There is a chat that's come through that Etheline says she hit the submit button, but nothing is happening.
So,
all the questions.
yeah,
I think she won't see it till we end the poll.
yeah, you won't be able to see the question until the poll's ended and they've calculated everybody's response. And then it'll give you a percentage for each question.
Right. And people are still voting.
And Lynn Friedman says that she sees the questions but has no way to answer them.
You
So
should be able to hit yes or no.
if you tap on yes or no, it should.
She's in the car.
She's in the car, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Please, if you're traveling, that is important, and you'll be able to hear the results of the poll from our presenter.
Right. It will not, the iPhone will not let you do this in motion.
Okay, Deborah, how's it looking? How's the poll looking?
Okay, there are 68 of 89 have voted. So that we're still getting votes in. I'll give it a couple more minutes, then we'll end the poll. Once it looks like everybody's voted that can vote.
So Azalee Dickey has shared in the chat that the questions show up on the screen, but if you try to submit before you finish it, it will not let you until it sees you have answered all 9 questions.
That's right.
They keep you honest.
Yes. And Carol Westerford said that she is on the phone and the survey works well for her.
Okay. Well, it looks like almost all have voted. Are you ready for me to end it?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And show the results, please. Okay.
Can you see the results?
I can.
Okay. Do you want us to do the results for you?
Yes.
Okay, so question number 1 says, I am comfortable with my body and my sexuality. That was 100%. The poll was 100% said yes to that question.
Okay.
Question number 2, I can talk effectively with my peers, family, and partners. 90% said yes, 10% said no.
Okay.
Question number 3, I know my body and how it functions. 99% said yes, 1% said no.
Okay, continue.
Number 4, I understand the risks, responsibilities, and consequences of sexual behavior. 97% said yes, 3% said no.
You can continue.
Number 5, I am able to recognize risk and ways to reduce them. 86% said yes, 14% said no.
Okay.
Number 6, I know how to access the use healthcare services and information. 87% said yes, 13% said no.
Okay.
Number 7, I am able to set boundaries when it comes to sex and sexual relation. 99% said yes, 1% said no.
Okay.
Number 8, I act responsibly according to my personal values. 100% said yes.
Okay.
And number 10, I am able to form and maintain healthy relationships. 99% said yes, 1% said no.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Well, based on what I'm seeing, y'all got it going on. I may not need to, maybe I can stop the workshop now, I guess. No, but I think in reality, what it says to me, I think is really positive because it says that you understand who you are. And so you're comfortable with who you are. And consequently, it's my belief maybe you're comfortable with talking with your young people. But we'll go on, we'll talk a little further. Let's look at the next slide. Okay. Yeah, one more. Okay, right. What is sexual health and sexuality? We oftentimes use those words as if they were interchangeable. As parents, you teach your children about sexual health, not just sex. Let's look at 2 areas to understand how they're different. Sexual health includes things like hygiene, healthy relationship, sexuality, and consent. It also includes physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being. Additionally, sexual health means making sure your child has the knowledge, skills, and ability to protect their health and the health of others now and when they're older. You can begin teaching them skills when a child is young about hygiene and other good healthy relationships. And remember, healthy relationships is not just about sexual intimacy. Remember as a child how you had healthy relationships with your peers, your friends, even your school teachers and your youth advisors. Preparing young people to get along, understand, and maintain a positive attitude is very important. And so when we talk to our kids, one of the things that often comes up when we talk about sex and sexuality, adults don't want to talk to young people about it because it's the assumption that if we talk about it, that will give them the idea to do something. Well, you know, we're sexual beings. So we have thoughts and ideas already just through nature. But what it does, it prepares them to make sound and responsible decisions. What you teach a 5-year-old is not what you would talk to a 15-year-old about. You know, the taking care of yourself, the hygiene, the respect for others, all of those things you will start teaching your children when they're young. We don't wait until they become adults to talk to them about those kinds of things. Okay, let's look at sexuality. Sexuality is an important part of every human being. A person's sexuality includes everything from their biological sex, gender identity, and sexual orientation to pregnancy and reproduction. While sexuality may include these things, people may experience them differently. And that has a lot to do with how you were conditioned and trained to think about sex and sexuality. Many of us who are older, well, I can speak for myself, parents didn't talk about that. It was like taboo. And even if you tried to talk about it, it was very uncomfortable for them. And that is oftentimes because no one talked to them about it. So they weren't comfortable in talking with you, their children. While sexuality may include these things, people may experience them differently. Sexuality is affected by many factors, some of which include biology, psychology, culture, and religion. I think when I think about the religious part, as faith-based persons, it is important that we teach children what our values are, starting when they're very young. You cannot, I mean, it's very difficult to not teach values and expect young people to understand. They understand, they either see you modeling it or they hear about it from you. So it's really important that we do both. We model what our values are, but we also have conversations about what our values are. I want to now look, next slide, please. I want to look at, okay, that's it, that's okay, the sexuality wheel. And the sexuality wheel shows us how the broad concept of sexuality really is. Each part of the wheel represents one part of who we are: the values, the personality, the gender identity, the gender expression, the sexual orientation, and the biological sex. This box shows us who we are by nature. Then the relationship, the sexuality, the sexual activity, the communications, the socialization, the sexual image and experience are things that are taught to us, are things that we learn. And I want you to understand this clearly, that our personality, our gender identity, our gender expression Now, sexual orientation and biological sex is something that is a part of us when we are born. You know, and I've heard people say, and I'm sure that I've said it, when children are young, we say, oh, they have so-and-so personality. They are already, young infants already have developed their personality, and they don't understand the development of it, but it's just natural. It is what happens. But relationship, sexual activity, communication, socialization, and sexual images are things we learn, are things that are taught, that we're taught by others, and are things that we see others do that we try to imitate, but it's not necessarily our natural selves. It is societal, it's environmental, it's cultural, it's all those things that as we grow older, we learn. The wheel moves freely and smoothly when all parts of our when all parts of ourselves are healthy or sexual, our sexuality is healthy. When we're healthy and understand and can connect with all of these values and experiences, be they natural or be they learned, when we can do that, then we will have the ability to have a better understanding of our sexual health and how our sexual health will play out in our life. Do you have questions? Are there any questions or comments at this time? Pardon me, I can't hear. Was someone saying something?
I'm not sure, but there's a question that's in the chat. It says, learning from others is always a concern for parents, that learning comes from influences we want for our children. It's a comment.
Okay, and I think that's a really good point. So that's why it is very important that you, from the time that child is a young person, teach them your values and your beliefs and how you want them to act, not just around you, the kind of person you want them to be. And when you do those things, there will always be outside influences. But if they have sound values, the likeliness that they will go against what your values are limited. So that's why it's so important that as adults, we're able to talk to our young people and answer their questions and make them feel good about and not turn them off when they really are trying to gain knowledge. I think that is, and I think that parents are probably doing a better job at that now, but we have to be able to do it. If not, we leave our children out there for someone else to have a stronger influence on them than we have. Okay? Questions, comments? Okay, let's talk about some of the tips for talking about sexual health with your children. Next slide, please. Oh yeah. Is that, what is the next slide? Is the tips the next slide, or is?
Yeah,
okay.
Tips is the next one. Okay,
let's talk about that then. Be an askable adult. Do you understand what being an askable adult is? It means that when your child asks you a question that feels uncomfortable, you feel some kind of anxiety, you need to work on not showing those reactions. I have a little cousin who, as she was growing up, she would always say things really to make me respond. And if I responded in a negative way, she acted one way. But if I did not, she was able to be open and talk with me. So being an aspirable adult means that allowing your children to come to you with any questions. You know, they see things on TV, they read things in books, they see, and with the use of the internet now, there are things that they're exposed to as young people that we never would have been exposed to. So the opportunities for them to be exposed to things that are not things that you would be teaching them. But when they ask you about them, if you don't know, talk about it and just tell them you're going to research and find out the answer so that you can help them feel comfortable coming to you to ask questions. Start early and talk often. We used to say parents need to have the talk. It's no longer a talk, it's a conversation. You can't have a one-time talk with a child that might have happened 50 years ago. Just because, based on the things that I stated a few moments ago, the experiences and exposure, you have to start early and you have to talk often. When your 3-year-old comes to you with a question, you need to try to answer that question. You need to know how to answer in a way that's age appropriate, because what you say to a 3-year-old, you would not say to a 15-year-old. But you need to try to answer the question, but make sure that the language is age appropriate. That leads into the next one. Keep the language simple and age appropriate. And the next one is so important. Use proper terms for body parts and body functions. Now, that was not always the case for some persons in my generation. And I'm gonna tell you just a story about a kid that, one of the things I did at DSS was I did sexual abuse. And there was a child that was abused, and talking with the teacher said that Mary, so-and-so, Jane, whatever, Carol even, kept telling her that somebody was bothering her pocketbook. Well, now, you know, somebody says somebody bothering your pocketbook, you think somebody's bothering your pocketbook. It turns out that pocketbook was a term that had been used with her as it relates to her vagina. And so this child was being abused and trying to tell someone she was being abused, but because she didn't know the right terminology, she knew what was being said to her. That's why they're never too young to be taught the proper terms for the body part and the body functions. Use teachable moments. I mean, there are oftentimes really good teachable moments that instead of using them as teachable moments, sometimes we freeze and recall and won't respond. But if you're watching a TV show or a movie with your child, or even riding in the car and something comes on the radio, and you know the music is so suggestive now. You know, if it's not 70s or 80s, I don't hardly know it. Well, I don't know it, not hardly know it. But these young people listen to those songs, and so if something happens and you want to talk with that child, use that moment to say, I hear what they're saying. What do you think they mean? How do you understand that? And let me tell you what I think it means. And so you use moments, I mean, it could be anything, could be something someone has said to your child and the child repeated to you, and it's inappropriate. And so you use that moment to talk to them and teach them the right thing in the right way. I think it's really important that we don't assume, but we talk to our children to find out what they already know. And if they already know something and it's inappropriate and it's not right and they using it incorrectly, correct them. Don't just allow them to say what they think is right because you don't want to talk about it. Talk more about facts. Talk about how it was when you were growing up. Talk about your relationship with your family. Talk about what your parents talked to you about. Don't make everything seems as if it was all good. I knew all of those things because people in my community really didn't talk about those things. But we don't let them, our young people, know that our relationship even with the community may have been different. But let's talk about facts and not just make things seem better or worse than they really were. Always, and this is real important for older teens, be able to direct them to resources that are beneficial to them. One of the things that we have worked really on at Fact Forward is working with health departments to make health departments more teen friendly. And when we say teen friendly, when you go into a health department, sometimes your mama friend might be at the desk and you don't want them to know that what you're there for. So what we do is sometimes the hours, making it teen friendly is making, extending out for young people, helping them understand. We have on our website, a teen location, location for teen-friendly clinics. So helping them, and not just clinics, but there may be other resources that children and young people want to know about, that you know that you need to direct them to. If they want to know, I'm sorry, I'm echoing. If they want to know something, we need to share it with them and be open and honest and allow ourselves to become comfortable so that we can be open and honest. Please don't act like you know it all, because we none know it all. There may be some things that our young people say to us, And it's okay to say, oh, I didn't know that. Let's talk about that more. Tell me about that. How did you find out about that? Don't act like you know everything, because when you act that way, you really turn people off from wanting to respond to you and ask you questions and connect with you and confide in you. So I think it's really important that we allow ourselves to be frank about the fact that we don't know it all. Encourage your children to talk about what they think. Sometimes when young people have tried to talk with us, we said, no, go on, I don't want to hear that. You don't know what you're talking about. I don't want to hear that. And so what message, think about the message that you have sent to the child. It's not okay for me to be open with you. It's not okay for me to ask you questions. I can't, I only have to stay in the parameter in which you want me to stay in. I am not allowed to expand because my expanding makes you uncomfortable. We have to do what we need to do to make ourselves comfortable, because we have to be at a place that when our kids come to us, and it's not, remember, it's not always your biological kids, because those of us that work in churches, work in social organizations, work in community recreation center, there are a myriad of places we can be that we interact with young people. And it's not unusual for young people to just come up to you, Miss Carol, so-and-so and so. And I can't recall and act like you get away from me because you're frightening me. I have to be able to maintain my composure, but also say, that is really a good question. Let's talk about this. Where did you hear that information? And if the information is incorrect, I think the information you received was not correct, but let us talk about how it should be. And if you don't know how it should be, then you say to them, okay, let's research this and let's find out together. So I think that's really important. Encourage the kids to talk about things that they want to. This is part of the values, letting them know what's socially accepted, socially okay. And I love examples because I think it makes things clearer. As when I worked with DSS, I had a young girl who had been sexually abused as a child, and she was actually a child when I dealt with her. And the one thing she would do, can someone mute themselves? The one thing she would do repeatedly is she would masturbate. And she masturbated wherever she felt like she needed to masturbate because it felt good to her. And she didn't understand that she should not be masturbating in the classroom. So what we had to do is work with her through counselors and therapists and psychologists, and not say, pointing our finger at her and say, this is bad, you're a bad person. No, what you're doing, it's not okay to do it and open out in public. And help her, and we had to help her understand why it was that she was acting in the way she was, without making her feel bad and guilty and blaming her. Sometimes if we're not prepared, if if we're not ready for what might come, we respond differently. So that's why it's always important for us to get ready to be able to respond appropriately and lead our young people in the right direction. So we need to help them know what socially is okay, with socially okay. And again, as I said earlier, that really connects to what our values are and what we want to teach them to do in terms of values. One of the things that we do as adults, and oh God, I'm guilty of it, not just with young people, probably with adults more. Listening is so important, because if you listen carefully, oftentimes you get the information you need. But when I start talking and you decide in your mind what I'm going to say, you are not listening to me. And so you react based on what you think I'm going to say. You haven't heard me. So listening carefully is so important. And it means sometimes stepping back and just centering ourselves, because oftentimes we're, you're kind of anxious. You don't want to be caught off guard. You don't want some young person to ask you something and you don't know the answer, but that's okay. You don't have to know the answer, but listen to them and understand what they're trying to say. And when you do that, then you're better able to respond to the question that they really have, or the comments that was really made. I've talked about this several times, but talk about your values. And you have to talk about them honestly. And as a faith community, sometimes our faith community identifies what is of value to them about sensitive issues. Many faith communities only want you to talk about abstinence, or talk about abstinence, or talk about sex in the context of marriage. And I'm not against any of those things, but I think we have to be able to be honest with ourselves that young people are sexual beings just like we are sexual beings, and that we have to treat them that way. We have to give them the right information and prepare them to make the right decision. There's a workshop that I did for several years called Breaking the Silence. It was a workshop for adults. And one of the liturgies that we had as a part of that was, because it was done in the faith community, was, "Pastor, did you abstain?" And it's not unusual for young people to ask you, well, did you not have sex before you got married? And you have to think how you answer that. I ain't about to suggest that you tell the children all your business. What I am suggesting is that you think about it before, so that if you ask that question, that you can have an honest answer that's not so revealing that it might be upsetting to the young person. Another tip is to try not to talk down to the young people. I think that we are who we were taught to be by our parents and by our schools and by our faith communities. And what they taught us oftentimes was what they knew. But when you know better, you do better. And so now we know that really we need to listen to young people and not talk down to them like because what it makes you feel like is that I'm stupid, I don't understand. You got to be able to be attentive to them and be attentive to their needs, because their needs are very important. So with that, we're going to watch a short video. Deborah, can you?
Can I ask a question before the video?
No, please. And I'm sorry, please, are there questions? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, there's another comment in the chat. It says if you can comment on peer pressure, learning from friends, it just went away. Okay, learning from friends, girlfriends keeping up with others, and keeping up with others and opposite sex pressure to experiment. The aspect seems to alienate children from parents. So let me say it again because my screen just went back and forth. It says, if you can comment on peer pressure, learning from friends, girlfriends keeping up with others, and opposite sex pressure to experiment. This aspect seems to alienate children from parents of teens.
Okay, peer pressure, teens learning from teens. What else? I'm sorry.
And opposite sex pressure experiment.
Okay. When we talk about peer pressure, we talk as if only young people deal with peer pressure. We deal with peer pressure every day as adults in our relationships, on our jobs, because just someone, I'll give you an example. You're in an office and some of the office workers want to do something, want to stay out for lunch, hour and a half or something. It's simple. I'm trying to make it simple. And you don't necessarily want to do that. But because you're part of that group, you go along. So I think we have to keep in mind that it all goes back to what I said earlier, values. You have to teach young people to think for themselves. You have taught them what is right, and they pull on that when they get into these situations. It's not uncommon for young people to get into a situation where someone is trying to suggest that they do something else, but they have to pull on what you have taught them. So you prepare them, and they won't succumb as easily to peer pressure. I think oftentimes about when I was in school, and I see that my roommate is on or was on this call. I guess she's still on, and we had a ball. I enjoyed school, but I always remembered why I was there. And I always remembered that not only my parents, but my community had expectations of me. And so because I remembered those things so vividly, I didn't allow myself to fall into peer pressure. We have to help people know what their values are, know what their values should be. We need to model that, not just say it. We need to model it. They need to see us doing it. And when that happens, be it me as an adult or me as a young adult in college, I'm going to do what I've been taught is the right thing. And so when we talk about peer pressure, we really do have to look at ourselves, but we also have to help young people understand that their values and the values that you teach them are the values that they need to really live by. Teen learning from teens, that's teens learning from teens. That is one of the points that I was talking about in the tips, because young people are going to be saying other things to their peers. If I know what's right, then I can correct them. If they choose to do what's incorrect, then I move on. But kids cannot resist if they don't have something that helps them resist. And that's parents, caregivers, other caring adults. One of the things that you have to do is build positive expectations within your young people. I said that I was a mentor. I mentored a young male for 5 years. And I had him to do affirmations, and I put them on a big sheet of paper and let him put them on his mirror, and that he was supposed to go through those affirmations every day. And when he did those things, and he knew that my expectations of him was what they were, his response in school was different. Now, I wasn't his mother, because his mother was going in a different direction. But I was trying to model to him, but not only model to him, but help him know that he was a positive person, that he had a lot to offer, and affirm who he was, and have positive expectation. I think that is always important. Now, I think the last issue was about same-sex relationships. Since the beginning of time, there have been same-sex relationships, and we have to acknowledge that. But also, we have to acknowledge that because of the weakness of some of our young people, they follow others into things that aren't truly who they are. Now, I say the same thing. I'm repeating myself over and over again. You have to help your young person to have a mind of their own, to have a strong will, to have self-confidence. And if it's a natural thing that their sexuality is what that sexuality is, it is what it is. And it doesn't matter whether we like it or not. It is all around us. It's in our homes, it's in our families, it's in our churches, it's in our pulpits. It's all around us. We have to acknowledge what it is. We don't have to condone what it is. You have your values, you have your beliefs, and I think those are the values and beliefs you have to teach your young people.
Okay, thank you. We can move on to the video.
Get away from it. Yes, okay. Deborah.
Yes, I'm sorry I left you for a minute because it went off my screen, but I have it up.
Okay, can you put it back in? slide mode so we can only see one slide at a time? I don't know.
I can't do it right now, but after we do the video, I'll try.
Okay, can you start the video?
Yes,
okay,
I will try.
Thank you. I want you to look at this video and can you do the large screen, make it the little X down at the bottom on the right-hand side? It would make it a full screen, yes.
All right.
Right there. No, the little arrows going both ways. Okay. Yes, that will make it the full screen. And then you start at the bottom, you hit that start button.
Okay.
On the left-hand side. Well, it's my left-hand side.
All right. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. And the volume. Can you do the volume? I think you put the volume up. Okay.
She had some homework about frogs, and we were at this restaurant, and she said,
"Can you start it over? Can you start it over?" So, because I think the important part is okay.
I have a daughter, Mulan, and when she was 8 last year, she was doing a report for schoolers. She had some homework about frogs, and we were at this restaurant, and she said, so basically frogs lay eggs, and the eggs turn into tadpoles, and tadpoles turn into frogs. And I said, yeah, I'm not really up on my frog reproduction that much. It's the females, I think, that lay the eggs, and then the males fertilize them, and then they become tadpoles and frogs. And she says, what, only the females have eggs? And I said, yeah. And she goes, and what's this fertilizing? So I kind of said, oh, it's this extra ingredient, that you need to create a new frog from the mom and dad frog. And she said, oh, so is that true for humans too? I thought, okay, here we go. I didn't know it would happen so quick at 8. I was trying to remember all the guidebooks, and all I could remember was only answer the question they're asking. Don't give any more information. So I said, yes. And she said, and where do human women, where do women lay their eggs? And I said, well, funny you should ask. We have evolved to have our own pond. We have our very own pond inside our bodies. And we lay our eggs there. We don't have to worry about other eggs or anything like that. It's our own pond. And that's how it happens. And she goes, and how do they get fertilized? And I said, well, men through their penis, they fertilize the eggs by the sperm coming out, and you go through the woman's vagina. And so we're just eating, and her jaw just drops, and she goes, Mom, where you go to the bathroom? And I said, I know. How we evolved. It does seem odd. It is a little bit like having a waste treatment plant right next to an amusement park. Bad zoning. But she's like, what? And she goes, but Mom, but men and women can't ever see each other naked, Mom. So how could that ever happen? And then I go, well, and then I'm put my Margaret Mead hat on. Human males and females develop a special bond. And when they're much older than you, and they have a very special feeling, then they can be naked together. And she said, Mom, have you done this before? And I said, yes. And she said, but Mom, you can't have kids, because she knows I adopted her and that I can't have kids. And I said, yes. And she said, well, you don't have to do that again. And I said, and then she said, but how does it happen when a man and woman are together? How do they know that's the time? Mom, does the man just say, is now the time to take off my pants? Oh. And I said, yes. That's exactly right. Exactly how it happens. So then we're driving home, and she's looking out the window, and she goes, Mom, what if just two people saw each other on the street, like a man and woman? They just started doing it. Would that ever happen? And I said, oh, no, humans are so private. Oh. And she goes, what if there was like a party and there was just like a whole bunch of girls and a whole bunch of boys and there's a bunch of men and women and they just started doing it, Mom, would that ever happen? And I said, oh, no. It's not how we do it. Then we got home and we see the cat and she goes, Mom, how do cats do it? And I go, it's basically the same. And then she got all caught up in the legs. But how would their legs go, Mom? I don't understand the legs. And I was like, she goes, Mom, everyone can't do the splits. And I go, I know, but the legs, I'm probably like, the legs get worked out. And she goes, but I just can't understand it. So I go, why don't we go on the internet and maybe we can see, like on Wikipedia. So we go online and we put in cats mating. And unfortunately on YouTube, there's many cats mating videos. And we watch them and I'm so thankful because she's just like, wow, this is so amazing. She goes, what about dogs? So we put in dogs mating and, we're watching it and she's totally absorbed. And then she goes, Mom, do you think they would have on the internet any humans mating?
Oh.
And then I realized that I have taken my little 8-year-old's hand and taken her right into internet porn. And I looked into this trusting, loving face and I said, oh, no. That would never happen. Thank you.
Okay, Deborah, thank you. Okay, you can go back to the slides.
Yeah.
That, it's...
It might take me a minute. I'll work on it. Go ahead.
Miss Singletary.
I was on mute. What I said up front, that laughter is really important. She was giving her daughter the correct information. And although she was freaking out, she tried not to let the child see her freak out. She responded and tried to answer the question as honestly as she could. Going to the internet to show her daughter the mating of dogs and cats, but being wise enough not to show her the mating of adults. So we have to show them and tell them what they need, but we have to do it within the context of what they can absorb and what will not affect them in a negative way. So I thought that that TED Talk was really good. She really was able to communicate well with her daughter. Deborah, if you can't find it, it really is okay.
I can find it, but I can't make it.
That's okay. What I have only 2-3 more slides. If you can get to the last one when I get through to show the last video. If not, I might be able to do it. I'm not
okay,
sure.
I've got it.
Okay.
I've got the tips for talking and then the
Right.
So do you want me to go to the video or you want to go over the tips for talking?
No, we only got a few more minutes. You go to the video. I'm gonna just talk a few minutes about the other tips for talking, and then we'll go to the video because we're closer to 3:30. I talk too much, I'm sorry. Research tells us that kids and teens that have regular conversation with their parents and caregivers about sexual relationships are less likely to take risks with their sexual health and more likely to be healthy and safe. So it's never too early, as I stated earlier, and it's never too late to talk to with your young people about sexual relationships. There was a study done, I think it was in the late 80s by the Search Institute. And one of the factors that I remember very clearly. Well, there are two factors I remember clearly from the research, that faith communities and what they think is really important to young people. We think that young people don't want to know what we care, what we say, or don't care what we say, or don't care what we care about. But faith communities, the embracing by a faith community, the care and nurturing from a faith community is very important to young people. I think it was like 7,000, maybe 5,000 young people that took that survey. And the majority of them believed that and thought that and wanted their faith community to be an integral part of who they are. The other part of that research piece that I remember very clearly is that mothers who talk to their children are less likely to become sexually active early. Didn't say anything about fathers. Now, I mean, I think fathers probably okay, but it says very clearly mothers that talk to their children, and that's girls and boys, it has a positive impact upon how they react sexually. So I think those are points that are really important and that I think are a good takeaway for you. I want to, because our time is going by, I want to show this last video, and then at the end we can, I'll answer any questions you might have. And this is just a video to kind of give you food for thought.
Let me start it over.
Okay, we aren't seeing it though.
Pardon me?
They just see my face. They aren't seeing
Here we go.
Okay. Are y'all seeing it? I don't see it.
No, we're not seeing it.
No,
you're not seeing it?
Uh-uh.
All right. Ugh.
Talk to someone today.
Deborah, do you need to remove the spotlight and then bring that up?
I didn't have to before. Let me see. Let's see. Let me stop it first. All right. All right, I'm gonna share. Can you see it now?
No.
Okay. Let me see. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get back. All right.
I believe you had your screen share off when you were searching for it before. It was within the presentation, Ms. Singletary, is the video address.
The video, yeah, it is.
Okay, so Deborah, maybe just end the screen or the spotlight right now, or the screen share, and then bring that up.
Okay, if I
bring
can
the
get
presentation up. Okay.
It's not letting me get back to the screen share, so I'm going to close this. All right. I don't know where my screen share went.
The green box at the bottom.
Yeah, but it's not there.
Okay.
All right. Let me go back to Zoom. I don't know why it didn't there. There we go. Share screen. Now, it left me. Now let's see. I can get
it
back.
shows two little boxes that Kim told me on that you need to click on.
Right.
Optimal and something, yeah.
Okay. Let me pull it up again and see if I can share it this time.
Okay, if you can't, we'll just move on.
All right. Okay, it looks like it's gonna work this time. Slideshow. Can anybody see that?
Your screen is not sharing. No, your screen is not sharing. So
okay.
All right, Carol. For the sake of time, are you able to just tell us what was the video's about, and then we can wrap up?
It's about a young man talking about the metaphor of sex, and he uses baseball and pizza, and uses hitting a home run, going to first base, sliding in, all the kinds of terminology used with baseball. And then he used the terminology with pizza, a half slice, mushrooms, different topping. But the crux of the video is that the baseball metaphors are all negative, but the pizza metaphors are all positive. And so it's on YouTube. It's a TED Talk. So it was just kind of gonna be a way that I was just gonna end the presentation. And I'm not sure if I can pull it up and share it or not. But we're out of time. It's 3:20. I also had my information on the last slide, but if anyone wants to get in contact with me, Linda, Rebecca, all of them have my email address and my phone number.
And if you could share the link to the video, then they can watch it at home. I don't know why it won't share on my screen.
If I can share the link to the video.
Are you able to type it in the chat?
Yeah, I guess I could. It's a long one. Let me see.
Possibly you can send it to us at a later time and we'll make sure it's in the Mission Echo.
Okay, I'll send it to you. Why don't I do that? Yeah.
Can you see it on the screen now?
No,
Okay.
Yeah. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I'll send you my information, my contact information, and the link to that video.
Okay.
And that you could share. Okay. Are there questions that I hope I didn't confuse you too much. Hope it didn't make any of you anxious. I hope that it was beneficial.
Excellent.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it is continuous work. Mm-hmm. We don't stop when our young people become adults. We still need to talk to them, and we still need to guide them, and we still need to help direct them, because even as adults, sometimes we want to take the wrong path. And so we have to have someone that is willing to be with us, to guide us, to support us, and to listen to us. And not talk as much as me, but to listen. It's so important. It's so important. So I'll send my information to Linda, and she can share it with you all. And if you need to be in touch with me, please don't hesitate.
Okay, Cal, thank you very much for the presentation. You have comments in the chat that says, thank you, great presentation, very informative. Awesome job, Carol. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge with the ladies of South Carolina Conference United Methodist Women. Thank you for a job well done. See you all, Greenville District ladies on Zoom. Raising children is a lot of work. So again, thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. And thank you all for the invitation and affording me the opportunity to be before all of you. Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
And I'm sorry about the technical. Oh,
that's okay. You really got through the majority of it. I just had one or two more, and they were just tips and you got the slides. So even if you all wanted to share it, I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a good day. Be safe.
All right. So I just want to thank everyone for joining us today. Our next workshop is going to be our last one. Our next and our last one is going to be on February the 26th from 10 to 11:30. And it is on Kinship Care Program of DSS. And it will feature Ms. Tamara Scott Wilson, the DSS statewide Kinship Care Manager, who will also introduce and include 4 regional kinship care coordinators. They will discuss the scope of kinship care for children who can no longer stay with their biological parents and the procedures and benefits of family kinship or frictive kinship as a mean of keeping children within their family comfortable and loving. And before we close out, our prayer warrior will come and give us a closing prayer. And our prayer warrior is, our past South Carolina Conference United Methodist Women President from Sumter, and she was president from 2007 to 2010, Miss Mary Johnson. Would you please come and give us our closing prayer?
Thank you very much. Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, we give you thanks for this time that we've spent together. Thank you, Lord, for your work that illuminates our minds and refreshes our thoughts. Help us, oh God, to know what to say to our young people so that they may be able to bring forth good wisdom into this world. We pray that our minds have been prepared to receive more of what you wanted to teach us. Help us to know that we are in your care. Our children are in our care. We pray, Father, for life, health, and strength. In the name of Jesus and for his sake. Amen.
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 Yeah.
Before we end, I need to make one correction. So when I introduced Carol, I introduced her church and I gave it the wrong name. So Carol's church is Francis Burns United Methodist Church. Again, Carol, thank you for all that information. And thank everyone for joining us today.
Thank you. Bye-bye.